Today in the shop, a most productive day. We finished all the sanding, all the deburring. I even added some things that I was going to not do. And in the end, I was glad I did the extra time, spent the extra time, because it warmed up in the afternoon. Unexpectedly, a nice day, except for some breezes blowing. And we did get the MT09 rear wheel in prime. Tomorrow we'll be ready to paint it. It came out just about as flawless as any wheel I've ever done anyway. And I really think this is going to be the cherry on the sundae of the work that we've done on the MT09. Even though I have more things to do and I have more little carbon fiber parts to make, more things to modify, this is going to be it. Today, we really want to have the back wheel, the final sanding. We probably have an hour sanding and get it in prime. But the weather is unpredictable, and let me explain. I wake up this morning, we were not expecting really cold temperatures. It was in the teens. I have to wait until it gets above freezing, of course. That's a whole separate issue. That'll happen. But I wanted to announce, today is officially the opening of the Karen and Wendy Bed and Breakfast. We have house guests that look a lot like my family, and Karen's busy making a bed and breakfast for everybody before they head out to school. So what I need to do today is just reorient the way I run my little 4 to 6 hour shop sessions. I don't know how it's going to play out yet, but it's like the Titanic crossing the Atlantic. You don't know where the icebergs are. I don't know, but I know it'll be a lot of fun. So a few years ago, the family, we all got together. We went to Cape Cod for a week, rented a house, had some time on the beach, built sand castles, did whatever we did. I don't remember. We're on train rides and everything. It was a lot of fun. And I really look forward to this. It's prorated to be between a month and a half and 2 months. And I've tried to get an honest answer from Carmelo, the contractor, but you know, always add about 50%. I know, I've done construction work. It never comes out on that. It's like a motorcycle restoration. You plan something that's going to take 1 day, it takes 3 days, and you're glad you got it done in 3. And it is really hard to believe. It was only 2 days ago that I got a ride in, and here we are back in the teens, back in the USSR. But it's not going to be long, and we're going to have that wheel done, and today, that final sanding, I know it'll go quickly, because I'm really, really motivated to get that primer on today. And I look back at every one of these restorations when I got to the final few days. I was really excited about it. So today is going to be one of those days. When that wheel is in prime and up by a heating vent tonight, what tomorrow, I'll really be really happy. And I hope it's not going to snow, because I really do want to get a really nice photo shoot. I've got my priority list of the next modification to work on, and I've already made the carbon fiber material, so don't want to let the cat out of the bag. Time to get out of the tundra and get that cup of coffee cooking. Now, my neighbors across the street have been gracious enough to donate a bed to our cause, and before I get started, I've got to go pick up the bed. And we really do live in a great neighborhood. And we have a fresh coat of ice on the pond, and geez, the wind is howling. The official Karen and Wendy Bed and Breakfast on a snowy, wintry day. Now, when you run a B&B, you always have to have this. This is our neighbors loaned us this. It's a bed in a bag, an inflatable mattress, because we're going to have somebody in every bed so far. Hard to believe how much fun this is going to be. So how cool is this? You hit a button, and the bed inflates, and then you can have more customers at your B&B. Karen, I hope you have that pot full of coffee. I am. It's so cold out there. I don't even think I'm going to be able to paint today. It's so cold. So this used to be my art studio. Now it's a bedroom. We can have extra capacity at the B&B. And our bed and breakfast always provides free coffee and breakfast. So this is Karen's. She ate some of it yesterday. Fresh zucchini. This is from our garden, right?
Right. Blueberry.
Zucchini bread. We made 7 of them.
Blueberry
Zucchini bread at the B&B. So today being served is hazelnut coffee with hazelnut flavored cream in a beautiful cup. Running a B&B is a lot of work, but somebody's got to do it anyway. we're at the point with the wheel. The last thing is going to be to hand sand the whole wheel, get it in a jig, and hope the weather plays to our favor. Now, so far it doesn't look like it is. We're not out of the teens yet, and I want it to be above freezing, but at the same time, I don't want to rush it either. So let me get ready. It's time. So what I'm going to do for this step is use all 400 from this point on, and I'll be doing most of the finding the spots that need some work with my hand in a rubber glove. That makes everything just a little more sensitive. You can find little spots that are just needing a little attention. But this is the step. Now, right now, today, this is the step that'll make or break that to be a piece of artwork or just another painted wheel. Now, this is the part of the job that a lot of people, they dread because it's a lot of hand sanding. And the truth is, it is a lot of work. No doubt about it. But it's the kind of thing, and at the end of the job here, I can already taste that primer going on the wheel. Well, I just hope it warms up a little bit, because I am not going to put this on if it doesn't go above freezing. I've learned that's not a great idea. So we're going to see how this is going to flatten out. Now, most of the time, this is what I do. I do a little spot, or a spot, and I can feel right through the glove if there's a little spot, something that I don't like. A little spot right in there. And this part of it just takes a lot of time. It just, and the people that skip this, now I know a lot, and I've tried it myself, and I wasn't happy with the result. A lot of people skip this step and then just put 3 or 4 coats of primer and sand it down. But then what happened, the paint gets very thick, and thick paint tends to crack, especially on a wheel where it's taking a real beating and it's hitting stones and everything. So it's a better thing for me to just pay the price up front, get this done today, and quit while I'm ahead. Now, if you're a modeler for any length of time, you know how many hours, and then it turns into hundreds of hours, maybe in my case thousands of hours of sanding. So sanding it's the devil I know. Now, later on in this video, I'm going to have to carve and sand some aluminum. That may be interesting, but again, carving aluminum is a little challenging. You know, I don't want to wreck this wheel. Now, getting these areas smooth, relatively easy. Now, the parts that were a casting, those are the parts I really want to have. When you're looking at this wheel, I don't want to ever see that people could tell that used to be a casting. That's a big thing I don't want. Now, the spokes, this is a very time-consuming thing because you really have to get in all the radiuses, all 4. There's like 8 sides on every spoke, and get this. This is the part that's you're gonna see the sun bouncing off that like a diamond ring, I always say. And again, we become the labor of love here as we're waiting for the temperature to warm up. Now, all this sanding, it's like a bumpy road. It's bumpy, it's twisty, time-consuming, and you get frustrated, you get tired, whatever. But in the end, it gets you where you want to go. Well, little by little, it really is coming together, and I'm really excited about this. The only thing I'm not excited about is the temperature hasn't gone up at all. And again, I don't want to be impatient about anything. That is such a key thing. Because you do get excited about it. I get excited anyway. It's like having it actually is like having a new bike. And I don't want to rush it. But, on the other hand, I want to see it too. And that trick, being able to find little mistakes with the rubber glove over your hand, is such a good trick. That really makes the detailing of the wheel so much easier. And this is the kind of job, patience is king here. Patience, patience, patience. Actually, there's another trick, coffee, coffee, coffee. But I know, I've done this enough times to know that at the end of the day, when all is said and done, and that wheel is going to be sitting up there in primer, I'm going to be one happy. Now, I originally was going to leave these, well, I don't know what you would even call them. These are where they fill the mold, I think, for the wheel. I was going to leave them and just leave them and paint over them. But you know what? Every time I hand sand the wheel, I look at them and I go, it's ugly. And it's on the side of the bike where the chain is, so you probably wouldn't really see it. But I just want to get rid of it. So let me show you the technique I've used to get rid of stuff like that. Step 1 is the ball cutter, and this is a really useful tool for carving aluminum. Now, I don't know about my carving skills. I haven't carved aluminum since the days of model airplanes, but this is a good tool, and it does not tend to gouge and catch. That's the advantage of it. You run it at a slow speed, and usually you can remove very nice little slices of metal. And I thought about just leaving them there, but again, these are the kind of decisions you have to make along the way, and sometimes, like looking at a road map, you just have to change how you're going to do it. And get rid of that, that'll be a nice upgrade, and it'll be worth it. And this wound up taking the better part of the work session. I'd say upwards of 2 hours. But you know what? In the end, when the final hand sanding was done, and I looked at the wheel, I kind of looked at the ones that weren't done and the ones that were done. I was so glad I did this. I don't know what I was thinking the other day trying to take some kind of shortcut. I know in the end I would have been unhappy if I did that. Now, the ball cutter on a drill is good for roughing it out. You can see this is the rough cuts that I made. It's very delicate. There's one I have to do yet. And the rough cutting is the easy part. That goes pretty quick. The final thing with the Dremel tool and a sanding drum and by hand, that's the part that goes on forever. And I'm glad I have these things I got from Amazon. I bought 200 or 300 of those sanding drums at one time from Amazon. This is the Dremel tool, and that takes even smaller cuts, but still it's like shaping and carving and shaping. I've shaped and carved a lot of wood, very easy. Aluminum, not so much. But it's just a question of going back and forth. And like every single part of this job, at the end, you've got to do some hand sanding. In this case, it was a lot of hand sanding. Now, you don't see it on the video, but this hand sanding really goes on infinitely with that sanding tool I showed how to make yesterday. And that tool is so handy and so useful and so basic, so easy and useful. This took a lot more time than I thought it would. The hand sanding to get this nice and smooth, and I put my aluminum carving test. I don't know if I passed the test or not. Maybe I didn't. Maybe I shouldn't even think of it that way. But I have carved a lot of aluminum in the world of model planes. That's for sure. That's a skill you develop very early. But anyway, this is. As time goes by, I'm sure I'm going to be glad that I did this. And it is one of the final details. And it's just, as I'm doing it, I'm thinking, how many 1,000 times am I going to look at this while I'm adjusting the chain or something and be glad that I did it. That really was a lot more work than I thought it would be. But I think when it's done, I got one more to do here. Where's the other one? I got 2 of them done already, but I know there's another one hiding there somewhere. Look, he's hiding in the back. And when that's done, then we'll have to check the weather. So we have been using this tool successfully, and remember, this is just rolled up industrial grade paper, and it'll always wear out just at the tip, mostly at the tip anyway. And what you do is this is like the break off little blades on those knives, and now I can get back to work. And there's still, what I'm doing is the final thing of just wherever I can either see something I don't like or feel it. But the feeling is a lot more able to pick up a flaw or something that would show in the final finish. And in this case, every time I find one, I want to go through it. And I don't want to have any chance that I'm going to have something, and I'm going to have to spend extra time sanding the primer. At least when I get the primer on, at least minimize, then just pick up little baby defects. But this is a good trick. This is something worth knowing. I always cover the wheel balancer with aluminum foil, and this balancer was donated by Pokey many years ago. I always like to thank the people that have contributed to our cause. And this just makes it a little bit easier when the job is done to clean up. Now I have to get my special bolt that goes in to block off the tire valve here, and then we'll be ready to backmask. Now this is a special bolt I have with some tape wrapped around. The head of the bolt is pretty much the diameter of the curvy girl valve stem, and that tape around the bolt keeps it centered. And we like to leave that on for just so I don't get paint underneath there. Even though the curvy girls, if you look at the curvy girls, they seal on the side, they don't seal on the top, but I still like to keep that top, the paint as clean as possible so I get a nice joint between the valve and where the paint ends and the valve begins. Okay, before the final back mask, I want to get some compressed air. Whoa! You can see why. Now the bearings are sealed, of course. All motorcycle bearings are sealed. But the idea is I don't want any of that dust getting into the primer, or even worse, getting into the paint, where it would be a real problem. Now the way I backmask this is with 1/4-inch tape up onto the rim. And then I'll put the next part so I don't have a joint, but I want the paint to go down. I don't want it to end where when I'm all done I'll see some raw aluminum. And the back masking is relatively straightforward, but I guess some people, to be honest, you could probably paint the whole back of the wheel. I never thought. This is Sikkens M600. This is the end of our ability to do anything to this that hasn't been done already. I want to get this as grease-free and fingerprint-free as I can at this point. I think that all the prep we put into this, when I get the primer on this, and we're going to use the primer that we've used on the first wheel. I used primer sealer for the reason that some of this we obviously don't have every bit of the powder coating off, and I didn't want to have a problem of where it was still some powder coating. If we were down to total raw aluminum, I would have used the self-etching primer, but this will be fine. It worked great on the front wheel, could not have been nicer. And I put as much effort into this as I possibly could to make this as good as I can. And I hope it's going to all pay off in the next half hour or so. Now the temperature didn't come up. We're just a few degrees over freezing, which is okay, but the wind is howling. I was hoping it'd go to 40 degrees or something, but yeah, it's only 2 days ago we were riding motorcycles up north, not around here. So who knows? We're just gonna have to see how it all plays out. And the primer that we used on the front wheel also was primer sealer because we might have some interaction with that powder coating. I don't know, but this did the job of sealing the powder coating so that the paint would stick, and it stuck perfectly on the front wheel. Now I was really happy today the way this laid out. Now just a couple of tips with the obvious stuff. Shake the can when you think it's totally shaken. Shake it some more. Keep the can relatively warm. Don't put the wheel outside when it's 35 degrees out or something. When you can, keep it in a cellar. And what I did here is once I got some of the primer on, I took it downstairs, got both sides done, and I wanted to see if I had any runs or anything, and I figured while I'm down there and I can only be in the back room to do this, I took the hairdryer and just warmed it up just enough, just a little bit. But getting the primer on in a nice thin coat. I don't want to have any extra primer. That's the reason for putting all that extra work in, is I didn't want to have a big thick coat of primer. I'm trying to keep the paint as thin as possible. And the problem is it really was cold out here. It was not really a perfect painting day, but just for the primer, this will be fine. And I'm sure the hairdryer is a big help too. Now, I did some of this on the front wheel just to get the paint, just to tack up, and then I wanted to have it in a garage to dry over. I did not see any spots that need my attention, so we're going to put that out in the garage to dry overnight and bring it in the morning, put it up under a heating vent. Now I'm still looking at it and babysitting it, looking for anything looks like a problem, a missed spot or a run. Looks like that went on pretty well. And what that means is, and I hope tomorrow we're going to have appropriate weather, it means the next day we have a paintable day. And here in the bed and breakfast, you never know what that's going to entail. We'll be ready to paint the wheel. And we can get the the experimental silver on and the clear all in one day. Get it back out here drying. But this has been an absolutely a great first day for the bed and breakfast. So we do try to post up something every day here at the bed and breakfast, and we try to do some video of the day that has some motorcycle restoration or a ride or some fun stuff or something interesting I think you might enjoy. You never know, because we never know what the future holds. And the world of motorcycling is just so complicated and involved, and I never know even what I want to do in terms of motorcycling. So, but I know it keeps me young, and I do enjoy shooting the videos and editing them, and the biggest thing is sharing them, because I know some of the information on these videos, it can be useful and entertaining. Maybe sometimes it's useful and entertaining, but I hope you did absolutely enjoy today's video. And thanks so much for watching.